Welcome to the Event Engine podcast. My name is Lee, and today we have the one, the only. We have Thomas. How are you, sir?
I'm so fine. Thank you so much.
You're
Great
so
to be
fine.
here.
You are so fine. It's wonderful to finally get to interview you, mate.
Yeah.
We've had people here, and you've been hanging around waiting patiently in the wings.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone stepped in, and I talked to your colleague. We had a lot of lovely conversations.
That's really good.
Right?
So that's the most important thing. And mate, tell us a little bit about your company.
So I'm working for a company called Adventics.
Yep.
Adventics. We're based in Munich and Vienna. Also, we have two offices. Doing developments in Vienna with our great team there, and sales and marketing hosted in Munich. And we are a consultancy for trade shows, big trade show organizers in Germany, in the DACH region. I just learned in English, DACH is something to understand, right? It's a terminology.
Is it?
You don't know it?
No, I'm not. So I'm going to learn something now. Aren't I?
Okay, it's called DACH, the acronym for Deutschland, Austria, and Switzerland.
Well, I did not know that.
Okay.
So you've just taught me something. Thank you.
Great. Also the viewers maybe, or the listeners. So in the DACH region, we're active with the biggest trade shows there.
Yeah.
If they want to qualify an event platform now, which seems to be a bigger trend here, as I learned as a visitor also, on ETL. They come to us and maybe ask us, hey, what platform would be the best one for us? What's the best fitting? And also putting stuff out to tender, as I learned now in the EU. We also help out with that. Provide consultancy in terms of digital strategy, digital business, mostly everything digital, ticketing, registration also. So if a bigger trade show or like any trade show, fairground need some entry systems, stuff like that. We also help out with that. We know all relevant partners, I'd say, in the world. We have good connections to all of these people, and this is kind of the business we're doing there. Yeah.
So I guess then I'm about to, for example, I'm about to launch a big trade show. I want to maybe look for a registration provider. Perhaps I want to be able to sell tickets. Perhaps I want some other form of event tech. But I know my industry, but I don't necessarily know who all the right providers are to use. Is it you that I would come to for that advice?
Yeah, actually, this is exactly that, and this is what we're focusing, and it's something that's to be experienced in any kind of industry. I guess you're profound in a specific thing like machinery or organizing trade shows or AI or whatsoever, but all of the other components that are necessary to form the service you're providing or the product, most of you don't know about, right? Yeah. Building a website, for example, or something.
Who would you go to?
Who would you go to? Yeah, and you need, and this is only a problem, in my opinion, increasing because knowledge, there's more and more knowledge every day, and the rate of knowledge being created is also accelerating, and there has to be people filling in these gaps because transmitting this knowledge. Yeah. Actually, consultancy is about transmitting knowledge then in the end, I guess, right?
No, I totally agree. I mean, just you raised websites, for example. I mean, we specialize just in websites.
As I learned,
and yet there are companies all around here that offer event planning software, which a portion of it includes building a website. So you've got all these all-in-one platforms as well. So how do you, as a consultant, work out from all of this noise what's the best platform for a client and whether they should go for an all-in-one or whether they should bring certain aspects of different companies together?
It's hard as there is such a big offering and everyone's the best, and first of all, I think it starts with screening requirements, right? We visit the customer multiple times. We interview all the key players there, from facility management to CEO management, digital business people there, you name it. All of these have different requirements. You gather them, and you can, of course, then screen out, would you say, or what? Multiple vendors in the beginning. Some are left over, some you already have good experiences made with in the past, some have a good and profound history in trade show business especially, and that also comes down to scaling then, I have the feeling, because now here in ETL there are a lot of vendors of platforms,
Yeah.
and from my understanding, they focus more like events in a fashion that's like company hosted events,
Yeah.
like a company like Vodafone. I can say company
Yeah.
names, right?
Yeah.
Vodafone, for example, is hosting like an in-house fair, inviting all the customers and stuff like that. And this is what they're focusing on: 1 to 1,000 attendees and something. And trade shows are like a different case of events, a special, unique case of events, a niche case of events, maybe 100,000 visitors. As I learned in IAA, International Automotive Fair in Germany, they had up to 1 million visitors.
Well, so Medica, was it last week in Dusseldorf? Had 6,000 exhibitors.
Yeah, right. So
over 15 halls.
Absolutely, and like we're in Excel now. I don't know how many halls are there. It would, it's not enough to. It's not sufficient room here. I figure, right? So it has to happen in these super big trade shows.
Yeah.
Bauma in Munich is the biggest trade show in the world.
Yeah.
We also have like our lead tracking system there. These types of events, and you need, if you wanna organize these types of events with a platform, of course, scalability is one big factor that's about to evaluate.
That's true. So I could be one of these big companies, and I know I think I know what I need. But I don't know the right questions to ask, do I? So it might be, do you do this? Yes, tick box, tick box, tick box, great. But when I then launch, maybe I go for a registration company and they say they can do everything that I've asked for. And then when 15,000 registrants hit their server and their server goes down, that's the due diligence you guys would have done. But I wouldn't have necessarily done it as the event organizer, and now I'm in a bad situation.
Exactly. Yeah. This is it exactly. I mean, for example, we did a project with a medium-sized fair in Germany now, qualifying a platform, and we gathered 600 specific requirements for that.
Wow.
Right? Coming from, admin UI has to be this responsive, and people accreditation has to happen like this and like whatsoever, covering mostly every topic, right?
Yeah.
And we also enrich these with our own requirements regarding maybe stuff that like our customers did not think about, as you said, like support times. Is there a hotline, for example? That's what we did a lot to. Also, a big topic was who owns the data then in the end, right?
Yeah.
This is something nobody thinks about at the moment, or people who have been burnt in the past regarding this topic may think about. Most people don't.
Yeah.
A big vendor of like a very big platform. We found out our customer wanted to qualify. They wanted to have this. We screened their terms and conditions. Turns out the platform owner, platform provider does own all the data, right? Wow. So all the people who register, all the transactions, all the engagement, it's all on the side of the platform, and the trade show owns nothing.
That's scary.
And if they want to swap out the system, and it's going to happen eventually, because in my opinion, it's maybe something for the 5 minutes in the future, but I don't think this platform architecture is going to last really long in certain situations. They will swap out the platform and the data is gone. Like your whole business data, like events are about engagement and gathering this information and so on, and like this is your core asset then, and that's gone because you never owe it, and maybe you didn't know. So it's kind of a trap there.
That's scary stuff.
We try to think about that, but then again, it would be obviously it would be fraught to say we know all the questions to ask, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because each and every day new questions to ask pop up in the meta sense, and we have to learn about it as well. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to, for example, now I'm trying to figure out what are the differences between all these platform vendors, right? How do they differentiate? And yet I did not find an answer, to be honest.
That is a tough question. On that though, so like I said earlier, we're a web platform, and I had a discussion with somebody who was already talking with another web provider, in the same industry as us, and they said, well, what's different about you guys? I said, well, I'm not sure how to describe that. I said, I know that what we do is predominantly custom development, so we'll make things that don't necessarily exist right now for you, so we'll answer that solution as well as design you a website. However, if you're already talking to the other provider and they're already going to meet all of your needs, there's no reason necessarily to come to us.
Got to be honest about that.
Yeah, what we believe in is that we're an alternative provider. Everybody's an alternative provider. No one company can do all the websites because they would just, you need too many people. They wouldn't do all of them well. So I think reasonably is there plenty of room in the industry for lots of people to do the same thing, to serve the masses out there of people that need those things. And sometimes there isn't much that differentiates them at all, I don't think, other than here's another set of people who can do stuff who also happen to have a little bit more of a niche skill in maybe a particular type of event. So, for example, the provider they were looking at has way more experience than we do in trade shows. So if they were looking at doing a trade show, I'd say go over there straight away. ASP events, by the way, everyone is wondering what we're talking about. So, yeah, absolutely go to ASP event. They do amazing things with trade shows. We focus mainly on conferences and do a lot of really good stuff
it's
at
something
conferences.
Different, yeah.
Exactly. So for us, people, if they want a conference website, they're probably going to come to us for that. So that's kind of how we differentiate ourselves. But when it comes to actually the ability to produce a website, both ASP and Event Engine can produce a really great website, as can Cvent and other people who also offer websites within a bigger holistic package. So, how people differentiate themselves, it's a real tough question. I think there still is plenty of business out there for everyone to share. I think for people like Cvent, they're probably differentiating themselves where you can get everything with them, can't you? Because they've got their whole, the wheel of the event organizer, where you've got everything from your registration right through to people on site, I believe.
Yeah. But then again, it must be expensive or targeted to, like, if you're a 4,500 people company, you need to target bigger clients the same size. Otherwise, like, I totally agree with you when you say, there is room for, like, most of them or everyone, right? As the market is increasing, budgets increase regarding events. I took this as a fact from a presentation I just heard. 60% of marketeers say, like, there's 20% more in events budget next year. It's going to be a great year for events due to AI and stuff. And one thing this speaker pointed out, though, that I agree with when I'm hearing it is, events will take a bigger place. This human-to-human, person-to-person interaction will take will be of so much more value than in the past, because it's the only alternative for truth, I say. So because due to this whole AI content, media stuff, you don't know what's real, what's fake anymore, and so on. And real life on-site events are just real, like, in the sense of the word. And as people increasingly realize, like, everything my smartphone or my computer tells me is can I say, like, words like is bad at least, or is making me sick at first, right? There's the person, the speaker actually.
Kolya.
Was very good. He stated that fact.
He's a legend.
It really is?
It was on last year we interviewed him, folks. You can go back and watch his episode. Carry on.
And it's good. His pointer didn't work, and, like, the presentation was a mess a bit. I felt sorry for him, but it was good. So this particular fact, and so the market is growing then, therefore, because people have a more ever more desire for then meeting people, have, like, get real information, make real experiences. People spend more in experiences, apparently, spend less on goods. This is what he also stated. Totally believe in it. And the markets, therefore, is growing, and market shares, I don't know, are about, like, who's the more innovative But yeah, there's room for everyone. There's room, absolutely, I see that.
I think as well, everyone's systems work differently, don't they, as well? So there could be side by side 5 different registration companies, and one of them may be really good at handling the way maybe one of your clients needs to be able to register where a secretary will be registering on the behalf of many other people, and they need all these different features. Some reg companies can't handle that, some can, so I guess that's why you're here, to help people with it. But just on AI, if you're listening, folks, go to YouTube right now and you'll see my hands are real. We are real people. We're not AI. We're not AI generated. And I agree with you about events, and the realness. But you also said earlier that there's a lot of knowledge out there, and there's more knowledge, and a lot of that knowledge is being expedited, isn't it, by AI? AI isn't creating the knowledge, but it's just it's regurgitating all of that knowledge, as it were, online, so that there's more and more and more of it. So there's more stuff to read, more stuff to look at, watch, etc. Like you said, these fake videos, which I've actually been tricked by, where I'm like, wow, that guy's hugging a bear. And then I have to logically think for a minute, wait, that's no. And then, you look at the hands, hence the joke, and you're like, I think it's AI. Excuse me. But, with all of that knowledge, with AI, with starting to trust what's going on less on my phone, something about being in person is, like you said, going to be, and I reckon will continue to be so much more valuable than ever before. I hope, at least, because
yeah, of course. If at least for human beings that are socialized like the both of us and mostly everyone else here is. My wife lately told me, just randomly dropped the fact, hey, I read in newspaper X whatsoever, not X, formerly Twitter. I don't know why people say that anymore. In any kind of newspaper, she read, by 2050, scientists say there will be more marriages between a person and a robot than a person-to-person marriage.
Well, I hope that doesn't exist.
And
I hope that never happens.
Will it happen? Will it not happen? And kind of the thought experiment, of course, is maybe this is possible, right? I mean, I would never marry a robot. I say now, right? If I cannot distinguish, then I have never been to this situation, okay? So, but I've seen my nieces who are now 11 and 12 and so on. 10 years ago, when my brother had the first iPad or whatsoever, they already, in a super intuitive fashion, controlled the iPad when they were 1 or 2 years old, and could not even speak or see in distance, I guess. Whereas my father, who's 79, who's 79 tomorrow, he would destroy the iPad by smashing on it and so on, and he wouldn't learn, right? So, and this kind of intuition in the future, where people being born now and in 10 years robots and AI is commonplace, I don't know. Of course, they have a total different take on the stuff, maybe, and maybe really, I don't know if this is too deep for the podcast or not, but maybe even changing the way what it means to be a human. And maybe then at some point we cannot communicate properly. We cannot understand each other anymore, right? You and me and this person who says okay, of course I'm going to marry a robot. What's the problem with it? And so on. And we're like, dude, why should I explain even? How did you get here?
I don't know.
I got carried away.
No, that's fine. But I think just bringing it full circle, though, is that I do think there is an inherent danger that people will become a little bit too reliant on things like AI, etc. If people do become too reliant on AI and neglect the human interaction, then that stops us from being what we are, which is human, which are people who do crave connections, etc. Because I think with COVID and that certainly made a lot of us more introverted than we maybe used to be, because we got used to being locked down, we got used to being at home, and then coming out into an environment like this was actually quite scary at first.
Yeah, absolutely.
This time last year I was interviewing people and I was like trying to stave off panic attacks because I wasn't used to being surrounded by people. I was seeing people sneezing, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to go home and take COVID home to my son because he's still little. You know, so I was still having all of that fear, etc., kind of that post-pandemic fear. You know, so thankfully have been able to push through that. And
some of it remained, though. Sorry to interrupt. Some of it remained because I think people, I myself and everyone else, is keeping like more physical distance to each other. It's commonplace like this. Maybe this kind of distance would have been like 10 centimeters more close before pandemic. I'd say, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess the point I guess I'm trying to make is that I hope that Collier is right, and that you know, that more people will go back, as it were, for a more human interaction, because AI has created an abundance of information, which I just think is too overwhelming. And I think people learn from people. I've learned from you sharing your experiences today. Like one example of a very quick takeaway that I don't think I would have learned by reading online was right early on. You mentioned that when you're looking for a solution for someone, you'll go ahead and interview all sorts of key stakeholders. Normally what some businesses will say, what do you want? Okay, great, we'll go find it, and that'll be that. So, I've learned from you that there is something really important, and this is through human interaction as well. From your experience, you're not an AI, you're a real person, and in your experience, you've worked out that it's better to go and take the brief from the main guy or gal who's said, hey, this is what we want, but then go and interview everyone else within the company to get a bigger, more holistic picture. Then add in your own experiences of other events and other questions that you think would augment that to make that a better tender,
as it were. Add in AI whatsoever, even.
An AI could never do all that, I don't think, or maybe it could one day, but I think there is something very valuable about all of your humanness in that. So so let's end the podcast there in hope that human-to-human interactions will only get more and more valuable. But I'll come to your wedding, if you do, in 60 years' time, marry a robot, then,
Thank you so much. I'll send an email.
Send an invite.
But it's like,
or I'll watch it online if I'm super introverted.
less words there. It's really like a challenge, and we need to work really day by day, keeping this humanness.
Absolutely.
Actually, really. Yeah.
Well, on that, what's the best way for people to connect with you? And then we'll say goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Yeah, what's the best way? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome.
Email also. Then in person, of course, visit us in Munich. We in the east of Munich, beautiful place, or in Vienna. Always glad to host people.
Amazing.
Have beer in the office.
Oh, even better. I'll be there soon. All right, guys. So links will be in the show notes of this episode. Mate, put it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.